set out to every night.
We are live.
All right. Guess we can get started. So, good evening, everyone. I call to order the Board of Education meeting for Prospect Heights School District 23 for September 14th, 2022 at 7:01. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Nordmark.
Here.
Mr. Bednar.
Present.
Mr. Gradanis.
Present.
Mrs. McClaney. Present. Mr. Novak.
Here.
Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Botwinski.
Here. Okay, can we all stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we have recognition of visitors and participation. At each regular and special open meeting, members of the public and district employees may comment on or ask questions of the Board of Education. If you would like to address the board, please complete the form and give it to Mrs. O'Donnell, our recording secretary. Form is there. Would anyone like to address the board? I don't see anybody who wants to address the board. Okay, and next is communications.
So this September meeting historically is a special one because we recognize our faculty who have achieved tenure status in the district, going through the rigorous induction phase of their careers. We're excited for them to be here with us tonight, as well as the introduction of a number of new staff. So we do have a pin for each of you. For all of our tenured folks, you are receiving the District 23 lapel pin. And if you would come up as your name is called, and Carol will give you a pin and appreciation handshake. We have Nicole Berry from Eisenhower School. We have Dana Goldstein from Eisenhower. We have Susan Miller from Eisenhower School. We have Diane Moon from MacArthur. Lori Travis from Ann Sullivan. And we have Jennifer Wessel, also from Sullivan. Unable to attend this evening, but also achieving tenure, is Colleen Davies from Sullivan and Rachel Shaney from Betsy Ross. Thank you. Did any of our tenured folks want to say anything? Thank goodness we made it. Any of our board want to say anything to our tenured folks? Congratulations.
You know, I guess, you know, a couple of my children have had a couple of you, right, and have one of you now, and so, you know, just, you know, thank you so much for everything you do for this district, right, and I think, you know, I think especially the last few years, right, have been such a challenge for everybody, and, you know, I guess, you know, we hear how things have gone in other districts that have been huge challenges, and you know, and everybody had struggles, but I think that because of you, right, that I think that we fared so much better than most, right, and, you know, the entire community is grateful to everything, you know, for everything that you've done for our children and for the entire community the last several years, and that you'll continue to do, so thank you again.
Yeah. You make a great point, Brian, because our folks here were in the very early parts of their career and thrown a significant curveball, so this year and the next couple we'll have a handful of newly minted experts in distance learning joining us. So
that hopefully don't have to use too much more often.
Right.
And I echo what Brian says, right? Having kids in the district, obviously, I have kids that have had a couple of you, and some that are currently experiencing some of you. And it's just awesome to hear the things that come home and really exciting stories that come out of your classrooms. So it's great to see.
We also this year welcomed a number of new faculty, new to District 23, some returning to District 23. So we'd like to invite you. You're receiving the Go the Extra Distance Converse gym shoe pin, which is super. I know Dana's like, okay, Dana, you can have one too. But I'll read to you the message. It says, "Your daily walk alongside children has taught them how to walk, and your example where to walk. Your footprints will be the stepping stones to their future." And so we welcome you very much to join our district family. We have with us tonight Erin Curry, a new administrator in District 23, a special ed specialist. Kaylee Donahue at Sullivan. Stephanie Gage, our new assistant principal at MacArthur Middle School. Rachel Laboda at Sullivan. Joe Nudo, also at Sullivan. David Pantich at Sullivan. Stacy Roth at Eisenhower. And Julia Veltman at Sullivan. Also joining District 23 but unable to join us tonight, psychologist Alexander Ayala, Nicole Dorsey from Eisenhower, Sylvia Gorowski from Eisenhower, Margaret Kopek from Eisenhower, Samantha Menchwar, did I say it right? I know, I've been practicing. At MacArthur, Jenny Magoon at Ross, Alexa Novarone at Eisenhower, and Dina Trachis at MacArthur. So welcome to all of our new faculty. They have been through the gauntlet, so to speak, in these last month and a half. We've had a number of induction and mentoring sessions. Every Thursday, Dr. Zaire leads a session along with one of our building administrators, and we give you the nuts and bolts of what it's like to be a teacher here, but also to really learn about the culture and the climate that we strive for. So welcome aboard. Anyone want to make any comments? And any board members wish to say anything else?
Just welcome, glad that you're with us.
I commented before we started.
Yeah, that's okay,
that
yeah.
All of my children are represented in this room now. So I think it's pretty cool to see
Yeah.
that, at every end of the spectrum, just how awesome it's been to hear all the cool stuff going on in all the classrooms. So, welcome to District 23.
Will you pass that down for Dana? The biggest Converse fan I've ever met. You gotta have a Converse fan. Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Welcome to our family. The next agenda item is the North Cook Division meeting. It is established for Wednesday, October 26th. It'll be held at Evanston Township High School, the topic on equity. If you are interested in attending, please RSVP to Michelle, and she will take care of all of the arrangements. Anybody else know if they're going? Right off the bat? Also at your place is a Build a Better D23 community information event letter and attachment that will be mailed home this week, we believe on this Friday. We're still in the final edit phase. Just to give you an update as to what communication will be going home, this will be followed in another couple of weeks with another informational piece. Really the goal of these is to make certain that our broader community is informed about the work that's been done, the investigations that have been done, the needs that have been identified, as well as the proposed solutions in advance of receiving the survey, asking about their thoughts about it. And of course, you know, we've all, well, maybe many of us have received surveys like that in the past, and it comes out of the blue, and you don't really know how to respond. You might be in favor of it, or you might be supportive of it, or you might have questions, but this is the first you're hearing about it. And so we're really spending August, September, October really trying to provide as much information as possible to our broader community. We will have 3 community events where we'll be meeting with the community to answer questions and to present the information. These will all be held at Eisenhower, and they are September 29th at 6 p.m., October 6th at 10 a.m., and again, October 6th at 6 p.m. And of course, board members, you're welcome to attend if you'd like. And lastly, I have one other announcement regarding our ribbon cutting ceremony that will take place tomorrow at 9 a.m. at MacArthur. Of course, board members are welcome. We did hear back from Senator Gillespie and Representative Walker that they will both be joining us, as well as some interest from some of the local television media outlets. We'll see what happens tomorrow morning, how interesting of a news day they're having, but at this point, it looks like we'll have a couple of representatives from the press to join us as we recognize our partners. We thank them for their work in creating these outdoor learning spaces, the staff who helped us with that planning, the instructional coaching, the support that Dr. Jair led through our bridge program and our summer bridge to work in one-on-one with students and in small group. So we've got a lot of people to thank and recognize as we sort of highlight the ways we've used our ESSER dollars. So that'll be tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And that's all I've got.
Okay, so we move on to committee reports. And first is buildings and sites.
We met on the 7th last week. It was a fairly brief meeting. We We didn't have anything notable with lost time overtime. We walked through, just kind of briefly, the long-term facility plan. And those updates will obviously come to the board for review. And walk through an energy procurement updates. We're looking at different, going to different providers potentially next year, kind of re-upping with, I think it was gas this time around to kind of make the next round coterminous, but or at least kind of in the next cycle. And then we'll be looking at possible just updates to that, but more to come for that. And then looked at PHPD intergovernmental agreement renewals, stuff that is in the workbook for review or will be coming out in future dates. Not a huge update this month. After the summer, I can't see there would be.
No.
I think the team needed to focus on some other things. So, did I miss anything?
Thank you. Okay, next is finance, and Mary Lane is late, so Jim.
I got a report. We met on the 6th, I think it was. We talked about several different things, and a lot of it's in the packet tonight. We went over where we stood financially year to date and everything like that, and explained what monies have come in and what monies we're putting out for reimbursement for the ESSER funds and different things like that. We reviewed a budget update. There wasn't any nothing really significant to that. I mean, there was a little bit of a change, but nothing drastic there. We talked about the state of Cook County and their taxes and what kind of short-term financial difficulty or challenge that will put many districts and many municipal areas in. So we talked about a solution which is in our packet too to resolve that, which was nice to be on top of that. We talked about some grants, and we talked about where we stood on registration fees. And I think most of the people here were in that meeting.
Yeah.
So
That's true. Yes.
it was lunch.
But those people out there weren't.
That's true, but
Thanks, Jim. Okay, next is NSSEO, and Brian went this past month in my place. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the NSSEO meeting was last week. And so, I think at that meeting, similar to what we just did, 9 teachers were granted tenure, walked through that. They had a couple of acknowledgement sessions. The first was for the garden at Minor that they've done a ton of work on the last year. And so my sister and her family live right over there and kind of walk through that all the time. And so that was really neat. But there's a bunch of local groups that are really putting a ton of time in building out the garden, making it accessible, and then completely redoing that greenhouse that's there. And then there were 2 separate sets of shining stars. The first was for an administrator, Roe, who works at Sunrise. She's a 17-year employee there, and kind of has an interesting background, right, in terms of kind of working a bunch of finance and legal positions. So it seemed like she really brings a lot of kind of assistance to that community. And then a student teacher pair. Who were, and so the student could not attend, but the teacher was there, and then her parents were there too, and so that was really neat to kind of see, the teacher be acknowledged, and then her parents there, and you could just tell how proud they were, kind of what she had achieved there. In terms of formal presentations, they kind of presented the Kirk strategic roadmap, right? And there's just so much focus on making sure you're getting an hour of literacy every day, an hour of math every day, right? And that's kind of one of their really big goals, is making sure that they're really getting in the instructional time that they really feel that they need. Talked about committee assignments. Congratulations, Carol, you were part of the security committee. They talked about they gave a summary of their opening day, which is really a really big event for them, and talked about the families that they gave awards to, etc. And then for their foundation, unfortunately, this October 12th, which is the date of our next meeting, they have this bingo night at Arlington Ale House, where it sounds like this is a really fun event, right? I mean, it is, and we will not be able to attend this, right, unless we
Keep
jet
our
over.
agenda really
Right.
short.
Yeah, but so I think that we have a note, right, to make sure that this gets scheduled properly, so that the District 23, admin staff who are board can attend this next time, because it sounds like a really fun charitable event. And then the last thing, right? I think Carol has mentioned before that that Judy is retiring at the end of the year, and that they are starting to meet with search firms to help find a new superintendent for that district. And that's a tough thing. It'll be interesting, right, as you all go through that to figure out who a replacement is, because you will never find someone identical to her, right? And you just got to figure out what you need, right? And so, but they have a couple of search firms that the board will begin to interview to kind of help with that process. And it was a relatively short meeting. We're out of there now in 20 minutes. So.
Okay. Thank you.
If I could just add, we don't have any other committee reports, but I will be reaching out to Community Relations to set up a time for sometime late September, early October, in advance of our Family Fest, which is going to be Friday, October 21st, which is lots of exciting information to come. We're in the early planning stages of that, but stay tuned. But I'll be reaching out to Community Relations to set that up.
Okay. All right, next we have the consent agenda. Let's see, on the consent agenda is approval of regular meeting minutes of August 10th, 2022. Executive session meeting minutes of August 10th, 2022. Special meeting minutes of August 15th, 2022. Executive session meeting minutes of August 15th, 2022. Approval of special meeting minutes of August 18th, 2022. Executive session meeting minutes of August 18th, 2022, and the personnel report.
Can we separate out the 15th and 18th?
We can.
There's also the EIS report included in the consent agenda. That's the report.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, I know. That's why I let you take care of the announcing them, because there's so many there. The EIS report is an annual report we publish to the website.
Kevin, you want
compliance.
C, D, E, and F pulled out?
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the minutes of, or approve the consent agenda of item A, B, G, and H.
Yep.
Okay, A, B, G, and H. So, moved by Becky, seconded by
Second here.
Bryn. Okay. Yes.
Jump right in.
I'll let you have the motion.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Nordmark.
Yes.
Mr. Bednar.
Yes.
Mr. Godanis.
Yes.
Mrs. McLean.
Yes.
Mr. Novak.
Yes.
Mrs. Bowenski.
Yes. Okay, motion passed 6-0. And now we have,
I
Where do
make
I
them.
put this sucker? Really quick, just
Yeah.
out of order, so I put the second consent agenda maybe here on this one. That, the finance report is good.
oh, yeah, I think you could do that. Yeah, just make sure that it's separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you ready, Kevin? I was waiting because you were writing something down. Are you ready? I moved to approve the consent agenda of C, D, E, and F.
And you need a second?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Becky, seconded by Brian. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bednar,
Yes.
Mr. Gradatis,
Yes.
Mrs. McLeany,
Yes.
Mr. Novak,
Abstain.
Mr. Nordmark,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowenski.
Yes. Motion passed 6-0 and 1 abstention.
5-0.
Or 5-0, sorry.
Oh, good.
I do have 5, but I just read it wrong.
I know how it goes.
I think it's one of those evenings.
It is.
Glad it's not just me.
Okay, moving on to the financial report. And was that was Kevin?
That was me.
Okay.
It was, it was after the last one that I didn't have to do. It was not too bad at all, actually. So, thank you to, I think it was Becky that did the last one.
The whole summer?
Yeah, also.
Put
that
qualifier in
No,
there.
it,
Did she get a shoe?
Yeah,
Quarterly.
she did.
I know, I need a
You
shoe.
get a Converse.
It was not bad at all. I honestly, I didn't even have any questions this period around. So no questions. Everything was easy to agree. I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial report as presented.
Second. Go ahead. It's all you, Brian.
Second.
Okay, moved by Kevin, seconded by Brian. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nordmark,
Yes.
Mr. Bednar,
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis,
Yes.
Mrs. McLeany,
Yes.
Mr. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Bowenski.
Yes, motion passed 6-0.
Names change places.
Oh, they do?
They did on this.
They did.
I'm like,
Rotate around.
All right, so
You wanted to make
next.
sure you were ready.
thank you.
It was a test.
I hopefully passed it.
Next, we have the public hearing on the 2022-2023 annual budget.
I'll take the red.
Okay, go ahead.
On August 10th, 2022, the Board of Education reviewed and approved the tentative budget for the 2022-23 school year as drafted by our business office in consultation with the Finance Committee. In accordance with legal requirements, the board published that adopted tentative budget would be available for public inspection for a period of not less than 30 days.
Okay, at this time, the board wishes to conduct a public hearing for the purpose of presentation of the 2022-2023 annual school budget and to allow board members and others to address the board regarding the 2022-2023 annual school budget. May I have a motion to open the public hearing on the 2022-2023 annual school budget?
Motion?
Second.
Moved by Kevin, seconded by Becky. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed at 7:27. Okay, at this time, I would ask Mrs. McPartland to address the board with any necessary updates.
So I did include just a very brief presentation and overview that's up on the board, so we can just take a few minutes so I can just share with you some updates, if you don't mind. So again, the fiscal 23 budget has been unchanged since we had time to review the tentative, and it reflects an anticipated operating fund surplus of approximately $729,000. I just want to keep in mind that these dollars have already been spent in the prior years. We talked about those grants being extended fiscal year to fiscal year, so it's not really extra revenue. We've already spent it in the prior year. So just some major, if you want to go to the next slide, Kristen, please. You can actually go to the next one. And go ahead. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. So just a few of the major assumptions on the revenue side. With regard to the levy, we continue to work on shifting some of our funds toward the Ed Fund. We talked about last year about reducing the extension to working cash. We've reduced the extension to transportation and the extension to tort. We did realize a little bit of growth in our evidence-based funding, approximately $35,000 more. Our corporate personal property tax, we've increased that about $75,000 going into this year. Our ESSER 3 grant revenues, we're still expecting to receive just over $1 million, although we've only budgeted $592,000 on the expenditure side. Food service revenues, we're expecting those to be significantly lower, but more in alignment with the new reimbursement program. We've stepped away now from the summer food program, and we're going back to National School Lunch, which is at a significantly reduced rate of reimbursement. On the expenditure side, salaries and benefits are in alignment with our contract. Those make up about 75 to 80% of our budget. So PHEA increases for this year are at 3.75%, and then the long-term employees are at 2%. SEIU is at 3.75%, and then again, those benefits through the EBC, we're projecting a 7.9% increase in health insurance. Additional allocations that we folded in for this year, we were looking at a $7,500 allocation for the purchase of VIM equipment. That's to be an ongoing line item. An allocation of $50,000 to cover the remaining expenses for the early learning expansion team. And then we're projecting, in alignment with our extension with First Student, a 5% increase in the costs per route for transportation. Next slide, please. So I did provide just an updated projection. There were a couple of things that had shifted. So looking back, the set of projections that were provided, I want to say in August, just a few updates to note. Fiscal 23, the prior one we had used the tentative budget, so this projection model currently uses the actual fiscal 23 final budget, so obviously not the tentative. Property tax revenues, the 2021 extension is still being finalized by county. So the way we estimate that, we take the 2020 extension and we multiply that by 1.014, which is the January 2021 CPI rate. And then we adjust for those levy shifts that I just talked about. We increase the EAV approximately 2% annually. CPI we project out at 5% for tax years 22 and 23, and then we're hoping that things will normalize out back to 2%, and that's tax year. So right now we're going into tax year 21. EBF, we've increased that again. Other revenues, we've really just kind of looked back at several years of history to kind of project those out. Salaries, 3.75, and then similar to what we had shared last time, we were at 3.5 in this model. All other benefits increased per their contracts for this year, and then projected out at 5% for 24, 3% annually. All other objects increased 2%, but many of them ended up being flat. So assumption again, 2 retirees annually, that's consistent with what we've done in the past. Fund balance projections that I've shared, again, exactly what I shared last time, excludes capital projects. Other revenues are based on historicals. So when you go to the next slide, if you don't mind, a little bit different. You'll see that it's significantly more evened out than it was in the past. A little bit lighter on I think the prior model was right about 12 million. This is just over 10 million. So just what's changed, right? Because I know there were a couple of things in that prior that we've kind of shifted out a couple of things. So we took out the removal of the other financing sources or uses. Those revenues were determined, but the expenditures weren't allocated at the time that we did the tentative. They were kind of sitting in a bucket. So we needed to allocate those dollars after we verified those grant amounts. So we went ahead and did that and allocated those all to the appropriate expenditure lines. Again, the ESSER dollars were adjusted to show $1,092,000 in revenue for this year, $592 going out, and then that pretty much drops off. The one significant adjustment that we did made was on the federal revenue side. Based on the new food service program, we've cut that down. Again, due to the transition from Seamless Summer to National School Lunch Program. We may realize some revenues. I think I budgeted about $300,000, but we've seen years of over $1 million, which is where we were at last year on this one. This does not take into account the current plan for the working cash bond issuance or any interfund transfers. The goal is really to do these transfers, and then as of June 30th, we'll get right back where we were. So that's kind of where we're at. So any questions or clarifications that if I don't know, I can certainly get back to you guys, but I'm happy to answer any.
Thank you. Okay, so. We don't really have an audience. Do we have anybody?
Be Mike,
That's
and
okay.
Mike, Christian, or Chris.
All right.
You can wait, yeah. Okay, then I need a motion to close the public hearing on the 2022-23 annual school budget.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Jim, seconded by Becky. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed at 7:36. Okay, now we need a public hearing on the resolution to sell bonds.
You can take the whole thing.
Oh, I can take the whole thing. Okay. At this time, the board will conduct a public hearing concerning the intent of the board to sell $2,500,000 working cash fund bonds. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion?
Second.
Moved by Kevin, seconded by Bryn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed, 7:36. Okay, Mrs. McPartlin will provide an overview of the intent to sell working cash bonds.
Yeah, so as we shared at the last finance committee, following evaluation of a couple of different options for solutions and getting us through the anticipated delay in property tax revenue from Cook County, we looked at tax anticipation warrants, and we looked at the opportunity to expedite the issuance of the working cash bonds. That was what we determined would be in the best interest moving forward. So right now the plan is to vote on the intent to sell working cash bonds. We'll go ahead, hold the public hearing, and then pass the resolution that would begin the 30-day petition period to do that. So the intent here is to expedite that issuance, get the money in, and then use as needed to get us through the shortfall. Once the property tax revenues come in December or early January, we'll go ahead and transfer those funds back to working cash, and then transfer again to capital projects to go ahead and utilize those as we had planned before for summer capital project work, and those have to be spent within the next 3 years.
Thank you. Is there any comment?
No, I just thank you for putting this plan together, because we went through this at the finance meeting. There's a lot of us there, and it just seems like the most reasonable solution for us to implement to deal with Cook County being behind,
Yeah, thank you.
delinquent, whatever
Yeah.
we want to call it.
Be kind.
Nice and proactive.
Okay, then, there is no
Any
comment.
public comment? No?
So may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jim, seconded by Becky. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, time is 7:39. Okay, so next is the superintendent report.
We're gonna we're gonna end the superintendent report with a phenomenal presentation by Mike Jaya. I just want to prime everybody, get them all excited and pumped up about that presentation that's coming up. We're going to start with a number of action items. First is then the vote on the resolution to sell bonds.
So obviously, it's the resolution to actually sell the bonds, and this formally begins the 30-day petition period prior to the sale.
Okay. No vote needed?
No, there's a vote needed.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There is a
Sorry.
vote.
Yeah.
There's a motion?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Motion to approve the
Thank
resolution
you.
of intent to sell, oh, did you already do this?
No, did you?
No, go ahead.
Um,
Go on.
The resolution of intent to sell bonds as presented.
I second.
Moved by Kevin, seconded by Becky. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nordmark,
Yes.
Mr. Bednar,
Yes.
Mr. Verdanis,
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney,
Yes.
Mr. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Bocinski.
Yes, motion passed 6-0.
Next are the 3 interfund loan resolutions for interfund loan transfers between operational accounts.
So, again, as we discussed at the August Finance Committee meeting, we'll have 3 separate authorizations for interfund loans between, the first one is between the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Ed Fund in the amount of $350,000. Next one is from working cash to the Ed Fund in the amount of $535,000. And the last one is from the Transportation Fund to the Ed Fund in the amount of $1,225,000. Upon board approval, we'll work with the Treasury to make those transfers. And then again, once the revenue comes in, all of these funds will need to be restored back to their pre-transfer levels.
While clunky, probably best to do those as 3
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I move to approve.
Kevin's-
I move to approve the resolution loaning funds from the Operations and Maintenance Fund to the Education Fund in the amount of $350,000.
Second.
Moved by Jim, seconded by Becky.
May I just catch up?
Yeah.
Because I have here on this resolution still bonds 1, bonds 2, bonds 3, but there's
So this
actually
is-
4 things here. The first one I got was bonds, I assumed it was bonds 1, but maybe that was a different.
The
The first one was the resolution.
Resolution of intent.
Resolution to sell.
Resolution to sell, yeah, no, I got
Yeah.
the resolution to sell
Yeah.
bonds 1 was the last one we did, but
Yeah.
then there's a 2 and 3, and then an adopt budget, but that's next, I'm
So you're
missing
missing
one,
the
I
first
think.
one.
Yeah, these are resolutions too.
Yeah, so do I just
So
add
the
Yeah, you
first
can
one
just-
isn't in there, is that what
The
you're saying?
first one that we
Oh.
voted on, yeah.
Well, how about I make this one 4 then? 'Cause I
Yeah, you
already
can
used
just
that
change the
one.
title of it, the
That's fine.
label of it.
Alright, so I'm gonna make this one number 4. Thank you.
Sorry.
I apologize. And that was Jim and
Me.
Becky.
Becky. Becky, you're batting 1,000 here.
Hey, move it. I need my Converse. I gotta work hard for it.
So you call it?
Voice.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion for the first resolution there. So we need a roll call?
Mr. Nordmark,
Yes.
Mr. Bednar,
Yes.
Mr. Verdanis,
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney,
Yes.
Mr. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Bocinski.
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
You ready? For the second.
That was. Yes, I am.
Okay.
So I move to approve the resolution loaning funds from the working cash fund to the debt service fund and the education fund in the amount of $535,000.
Second.
Moved by Jim, seconded by Becky. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nordmark,
Yes.
Mr. Bednar,
Yes.
Mr. Verdanis,
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney,
Yes.
Mr. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Bocinski.
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
Then the last one, I move to approve the resolution loaning funds from the transportation fund to the education fund in the amount of $1,225,000.
Second.
Moved by Jim, seconded by Becky. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mr. Bednar?
Yes.
Mr. Grodanis?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes.
Mrs. Botwinski?
Yes. Motion passed 6-0. Okay.
The next action item is the approval and adoption of the 2022-2023 annual budget. Earlier in this meeting, the public hearing for the fiscal year 23 school district budget was held based upon the tentative budget being presented on August 10th and the public being notified in the newspaper and on the website as required by law, and the budget having been displayed for the minimum 30 days as required by law. It is now an opportunity for the board to vote on the district budget for fiscal year 2023.
So I move to approve the Prospect Heights School District 23 fiscal year 2023 budget as presented.
Second. Oh, please. I was waiting for Becky.
I was giving someone else
I
a
literally
chance.
think that was your first one. All right. Second.
Moved by
Trying to be a
Jim,
team
seconded by
player.
Bryn. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mr. Bednar?
Yes.
Mr. Grodanis?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes.
Mrs. Botwinski?
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
Next agenda item is also an action item. It is a school maintenance project grant. Amy can share a little bit about that.
So this is something that we have applied for and been granted in the past. It's a $50,000, up to $50,000 for capital projects work. Really, there are a couple different categories. So we went ahead and applied for the grant. We were awarded this grant last fiscal year for $50,000, which we allocated to the 2022 HVAC Phase 1 work at MacArthur. And so we have again applied for this grant for the 2023 HVAC Phase 2 work at MacArthur. And the board president is required to sign off on this grant following board approval.
I move to direct President Carol Botwinski to sign and for administration to submit the school maintenance project grant application.
Second.
Moved by Kevin, seconded by Becky. Roll call, please.
Mr. Nordmark?
Yes.
Mr. Bednar?
Yes.
Mr. Grodanis?
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes.
Mrs. Botwinski?
Yes. Motion passed 6-0.
And the next
I'm sorry,
oh,
can
go
I just
ahead.
ask what,
Sure.
just for the bond stuff, right? I think that that there was background in a public meeting last week from the finance committee, but I don't know that, you know, people are tuning in now that really could comprehend what was going on. And I know that when you write that summary, can you give like a couple paragraph write-ups so
Absolutely. Yeah.
the community at large can kind of understand what
Yep.
we just did and why that was necessary?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, happy to. Yeah, I'll do that in the school scene
Yeah.
this Friday.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you're right, because it's
Right.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
constant-
you know,
a
yeah,
lot
but the point is
there.
you're
Yeah.
moving money around, right? And
Yeah.
people, you know, and I think there's general awareness that Cook County is really screwed up, right?
Uh-huh.
For, you know, for
Well-
I shouldn't say that.
Oh my
I should say there's general awareness that there's a delay in county
There's a
tax
delay.
bills that have a financial impact on every government body in the
Yes.
area.
Yes.
And these are actions that we're forced to take
Yes.
because we have not gotten our
Right.
funding from the.
And we
from
love
Cook
Cook County.
And we love Cook
And we'll
County.
take any
Yeah, all
other
the work
grants or
that they
anything
do.
they have
Right.
to give us.
Yeah, you're right. That's
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah,
important
there's a
clarification.
delay.
But just making sure that
Yep.
our community understands why we had to do what we just did.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
That's a good point.
Yep.
Way to go, Brian. Way to
We're
go.
almost done.
The next item is just an information item. Amy Zare, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, presented a memo highlighting our first day,
Yep.
Teach Like a Pirate, which was a lot of
Dressed
fun.
up as pirates.
Amy, I don't know if you want to just hit any highlights or if
Just
the board
we're
has
off
any
and
questions.
running with the school year and somewhat of a normal-ish school year. We have all of the work ahead of us. We're doing it. We're doing curriculum. We're implementing the new ELA materials. We have our social studies committee starting next week. So it feels very good that teaching and learning is happening. We have some exciting news we'll be sharing in terms of like our assessments. We like to do that within context because we're hearing a lot in the news of what's happening out there in the world. We fared very well comparatively, I think, due to our strategy and our amazing teachers and students and families that help support, and you guys who help support the work. So just wanted to give you a little update as to where we are in terms of curriculum and all the professional development that we're doing. And the assessments presentation with Eleni is coming in November.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on the curriculum and instruction overview?
What's kind of the feedback so far from new ELA?
Actually, not too bad. The teachers are nervous. That everybody, those of us who know teachers, we're perfectionists, and it doesn't feel very good, not knowing the whole routine at first, and so little nervousness of how are we going to fit it all in. But overall, I'm getting. I think I like this, and they like the materials. They're just wanting to be perfectionists right now. I'm like, don't worry, we're gonna figure it out, just like we did with math. And I just keep reminding everybody that we had the same thing when we implemented math, and now here we are off and running and doing some amazing things.
And you guys lay a lot of groundwork before things start.
Yeah.
So
we start all the way back
Training.
in May, with the training. We did all that work over the summer. We've already had an additional 1 hour session with our K through 2 program for our second grade teachers. So we're doing a lot of training along the way, because if you do it all front loaded, it's all going to go right over their heads, and it's not worth the money.
Or like some districts doing it literally the day before school starts.
Yes, we've heard lots of horror stories of that. So PD along the way is just how you do it to fold it in and make it successful, and make teachers feel successful. They come with questions that are worth asking and going deeper into.
Well, and just looking at all those committees that you do have, and I mean, that's got to be a very large percentage of the staff. So they have ownership of it.
They do. Yeah.
And the other people who aren't on those committees know that, and I would think that.
And they trust their colleagues, who, even if they're not on the committee, they trust their colleagues because the colleagues bring the information back to them. Yeah.
It's one of the ways we really leverage our size as a medium-sized district, that we can have almost 50% of faculty involved in some committee, so that they're participating in the decision-making and in the leadership. It's critical for us. So, and as Amy said, we've got to reinforce that this is really a 2-year process. Anytime you adopt a curriculum, the first year is living through it, learning from it, and then the second year is refining. And then after you've had a couple of years in that curriculum, you begin to really kind of get to that point where you feel comfortable and, okay, I know what's coming up next. So we're in that process now, supporting it with PD. Our teachers are doing a great job with it. I will also just plug Amy and the principals first had a parent coffee with Eisenhower and Ross for the K through 2 portion of the program. And then just yesterday with Sullivan and Ross 3rd through 5th grade. And tomorrow, Friday morning at MacArthur. Yeah, so it's a parent coffee to explain a little bit about the curriculum itself,
What the school day looks like.
We're recording those so that they'll be available for folks, and we'll send those out so people who weren't able to be here can learn a little bit about the program and the way that the systems work.
That's great.
Because it's new for parents too. And parents get into a groove of, okay, I know what that book, I saw that book a couple of years ago.
Especially with reading, because that's something that all parents can kind of jump on board.
Yeah.
They get to see the materials and browse through all the different components of all the materials. And
Those are a good turnout.
the K through 2 was bigger, about 8 parents. And then the 3rd through 5th was 2 parents.
Do we find that 9 a.m. we get good turnouts, or would there be better if it was?
I don't know, when I had the math one at night, there was probably about 15 parents, so, I mean, it just,
That's why we wanted to record them.
we're recording.
Because we knew that whatever time you did, you're gonna, some folks won't be able to be there, so
Yeah.
offer it at a time that we can get the people we need to present, because our instructional coaches and reading support folks helped to do those presentations as well. So yeah, there was a kind of a team approach. So we've got that now on demand for people to
That's
view
awesome.
when they have nothing, when after Game of Thrones, or what's the new one, the House of Dragon.
House of the Dragon.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
The next information item, which is the last agenda item before Mike Jaya's presentation, just again to build that anticipation up,
Yes.
is just an update on our 10-day enrollment. We see in the table that I presented, this was pulled on our 10th day of school, August 30th. It's no longer used for the same calculation that it used to be. Back in the day, the 10-day enrollment was the number. But it's an important historical point for us just to kind of mark where we're at. So we're 8 students higher than was projected to start the year by Forecast 5. And you can see kind of the ups and downs by different grade levels. We will catch up. That's pulling the early childhood numbers out. We're starting at 56 in early childhood. That's even higher now because we've just had another round of screenings. But we will end the year at that 80 number or very close to it. So for our overall projections, we take that out and we're 8 above. We get to see here sort of the transition of students who are new to us. And again, just pointing out as we're looking at our future growth, we saw that first grade, 27 new students joining us. Now that's not necessarily all kids who could have been here. They may have moved in. But we see that pattern again of generally 25 or so students who could have been a part of our kindergarten program who then join us in first grade as a ratio of the size of the class. So just provide that as an update for the board. That's one of the important data points that we monitor. Okay. And now,
Do you have walk-up music?
we should have walk-up music.
Yes.
In his
Here he comes.
first ever, no.
No,
This is your first ever summary of summer
You
work.
made it.
Because Mike joined
Through the
us, if you
summer.
recall, just last
Wow.
September, October.
I'm still here, presentation.
Yes,
No.
yes. Oh, tomorrow is literally his 1 year.
1 year, see, there
1
you go.
year tomorrow. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's 12 hours. Right?
But I point that out and I tease Mike a bit about it because when you see the amount of work that was done and what he stepped into in his first year in this position, it really is remarkable. He's done a phenomenal job building that department and working with Amy on the long-range facility planning and addressing the maintenance and repair and custodial needs of the district in 364 days. That's been pretty amazing. So this is our annual presentation where we sort of recap what was completed over the summer. So pass it to Mike.
So recap for summer, we had roofing, HVAC work done, new whiteboard and projector project that we did, and some outdoor learning spaces, and the parking lots with some additional work that was done inside the buildings, not part of the capital projects. So the roofing at MacArthur went really well this year, and Sullivan. They were done on time and everything went really well. Roofs were done around the outdoor learning spaces, and like I said, done on time, and then the sheet metal work and the gutters were placed on early August. So we just had the final walkthrough the other day, and everything went well except for, just a few corrections here and there. So I was really happy with it rather than, what had happened in the previous year.
Yeah.
It went
Really.
really well.
Mhm.
Next slide. HVAC work is still continuing from the previous work that had been done at the other buildings. This is a phase 1 at MacArthur for 33 bar units that were done. MCOR and Honeywell doing their portion of the mechanical. Honeywell and eCube are in the final stages for completing the software and commissioning of the units. Next slide. This is one of my, I know those two projects are necessary but not as exciting as these ones coming up. So this was a really awesome project to go through because we had multiple contractors working on this and all the timing and everything coming together, and it was just really cool to see the older Promethean boards be removed and updated with the new whiteboards and the Apple TVs, with help from the tech department and getting all that done with a little bit of install of the projectors by the maintenance staff here. So Capital Painting did the removal and of the old boards and the painting of the walls. City Service Electric came in and did our power for the projectors. Interior Investments came in and installed the new boards and the tack strips for us. And then our maintenance department again came in and installed the projectors. And so we have a couple of photos of that with the old and the new coming up.
Just to kind of speak a little bit to the coordination that was required for this project, we literally got in there on June 6th and worked with our partner Arcoa to take all the boards down and recycle those boards. And we had every week was planned out. This week is, Arcoa, and then we're going to start with Capital Painting to come in and start restoring. As we had spoken about in the prior year, there were 11 different scenarios when we look at what these wall conditions were. So this really, really was quite a significant project. We had whiteboards on top of chalkboards on top of tack boards, and so to kind of get them all down to the cinder block and then pick out the accent colors that coordinated along with their classroom furniture was really fun. So now to walk through, and they're bright and they're engaging, and it really is a terrific transformation. So yeah, it was great.
Outdoor learning spaces, there was one at each building, actually 2 at MacArthur with their courtyard and then their outdoor learning space out by the cafeteria. We had a few changes along the way during the project that were approved. I'm trying to think of what else. They're all the concrete pads with a nice shade structure to them, with some furniture that's still on its way due to long lead times, with ADA accessibility at all the sites, and some awesome landscaping that had been done also.
They've all been wired for internet. There's
Yeah,
power
wired for
going to
internet
each of
outlet,
them,
yes.
Which is terrific. They've all been landscaped
Mhm.
a little bit differently, so they really are nice and inviting spaces.
So we have a few photos of the different spaces before and after.
It's fun to pull up at the end of the day
Mhm.
and see all the EDP kids
Yeah,
out there,
sitting
like
out
doing
there.
their homework, sitting
Yeah.
outside. Like, it's really cool to see the, 5th graders sitting
Yeah.
outside,
Yep.
getting their homework done.
And I do want to thank Kevin and Brian as members of the construction committee. It felt like a little bit more of a fluid summer. There were some things in this project that we came upon. We had some alligatoring in the blacktop that we knew we needed to address and get it right the first time. There were some areas over at Ross where we got a little bit too close to a manhole that caused a trip hazard, so we knew we had to address that. So I appreciate your flexibility in kind of looking really quick at proposals and so they could pour concrete on time. And, you know, we also worked through a concrete strike, which was a little bit crazy too. It was kind of like one thing after the next, really. So I appreciate your flexibility and assistance with that.
And the bike racks that
Yeah,
you
we
see, that
ended up
concrete
moving that,
pad was
yeah.
was one of the additions while we were there, and
And that's been a
Making
huge
really good
improvement.
use of that.
Huge improvement.
Yeah.
So. Mhm.
Admittedly, Brian and I didn't really do much. It was really,
Well,
it was really.
and see, that's one instance right there where obviously that concrete was just supposed to stop right at the blacktop, and then when you got up close to see the significant, it was lower, there was pooling there, and so we knew we had to address that. So.
What do you feel like during the day the usage has been for those?
Okay, well, when you look out at the Ross and Sullivan and you see kids sitting out there just on that, you're like, oh God, just get the furniture, just get the
Yeah.
furniture. So, Mac, I know they're really excited to be. We do see kids out here all the time. I know they're going to be excited to be using that courtyard a little bit more. So,
They're just
yeah.
cannot wait to get.
popping a squat on the concrete or something.
Yeah.
Yes, they had the was it the Sullivan was it
That's
the
awesome.
orchestra, the
Yeah,
band that
orchestra
came out
band
and
came
it was
out and
awesome.
did a
They
little
brought chairs out.
performance.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yep.
I mean, and I tell you, every day EDP is out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's like they have the fifth graders, if they want to play on the playground, they can, but they also have the ability to sit over there and do their homework.
I was gonna say during lunch when you walk out there, there are always little groups sitting underneath the sail, just talking or working on homework. Or yeah, it's cute.
Parking lots, just maintenance on with seal coating and striping. It actually worked out really well with the new drop off and pickup routes that we had to be able to do that at this time. So we were able to, if you can go to the pictures, we were able to add, when we moved the buses down to the south end by Ross, we added those red stripes for bus parking. We enhanced the crosswalks on the upper right to white, better visual for safety, for your eye goes to the white more than the yellow. Added new arrows for drop off and pickup also in front of Ross Sullivan. And it made a few enhancements to the playgrounds per the principals for extra play areas, an extra couple of floor squares and things here and there. But I think in the bus drop off and pickup is so much better
So
than
much
it used
better.
to be, getting that traffic off of Schoenbeck, and it just seems to move so much smoother. Along with this project, there was also some concrete work that was done at all the sites, grinding and just taking out, broken up sidewalks and replacing those. And then the final thing we did with this job was added stop signs and new left-hand and right turn arrows at the exits. Because in the past, we didn't have stop signs at
I know there was some
exits going back out onto the street.
parental consternation over the change in
Mhm.
parking and everything. Has that kind of subsided, and are people kind of bought in now?
Well, I think the purpose of doing the trial last spring was
Yeah.
to see how it would work. And, we heard from parents, as you said, that were concerned about delays that we had, and we were able to then modify the actual plan we've implemented based on that feedback. So our assessment is, always have the first couple of days until people get into a pattern, but it seems to be really flowing. Again, for us, the backup of cars and traffic onto Schoenbeck is a safety hazard that we wanted to address. Keeping the buses apart from the cars is a safety piece that we wanted to address. And it seems to be flowing really well. Brian drives it every so often.
No more backing up onto Schoenbeck?
No, it's worked out really good.
So
It's
nice.
the thing that I was concerned about. You can see in the bottom left picture that there's really 3 lanes of traffic
Yeah.
in that lot in the morning, which there never was. But we didn't
Right.
even use that portion of the lot,
Right.
But it works out really well for So on the right side is drop off for Ross, right? In the middle is really people exiting from Sullivan. And then on the left, right, is people coming in, and it works out really well, right? And so that there's, and I know you guys had a ton of people out there the 1st week, but it's
better,
you're
yeah.
you're reducing it back
Yeah.
down to the normal levels, and it's worked out great. I think it's, know, I mean, I think I really only see it in the morning. I don't know how, you know, the afternoon has been, but talking to Bob Miller, he said it's been pretty good as
Yeah,
well.
afternoon was always easier
Yeah.
because of the flip-flop of Ross and Sullivan leaving first and then MacArthur.
Yeah.
So we had less of a backup in the afternoon, but
Yeah.
it's flowing really nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, it's great.
Nice-
I mean,
nice work.
yeah. I mean, I think the only, you know, I know that one of the things that had been a concern was kind of people on parking on the side streets or bringing kids across. On that, and we still
Yep.
kind of see that on Schoenbach.
You know, the Prospect Heights Police actually modified their portion of the plan as well. So they now have no parking on one side of the street all the way down. They had done it for the first 30 feet or whatever it was, and then people were just parking further down. So that seems to be less of a concern. And again, I think, or at least I hope, that part of the enhancement and people seeing, okay, this flows pretty quickly,
Yeah.
will encourage more
Right.
people to
Yeah,
participate in
exactly.
that and less.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we still have our families that walk, that
Oh,
live
absolutely, yeah.
next door here and walk across Schoenbeck at the with the crossing guard, but much less of the park and walk.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's neat.
On this slide, we had, this is where I'm talking with the smaller projects that were done outside the capital improvement projects. Actually, some of these are part of the 10-year plan. The district-wide water fountain, GSEI outlets were changed out. We did some exterior door and frame repairs around the district. MacArthur looks like they got a whole heck of a lot of work there. Some annual, just annual maintenance, and then just maintaining like the bleachers, the floorboards, repainting of those. We did some band room seepage corrections outside. That was a pretty decent project, but
How did that, you know, so that looks good from the outside, but we had a lot of rain the last
There were no
96
trees.
hours.
Yeah.
Everything been good?
I
Yeah.
have not heard anything
Yeah.
in there, and the sump pump was also replaced during that process
Yeah.
inside the band room.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
No, yeah, that
Right.
looks
We
really
had
good.
we had a
Yeah.
test.
Yeah, no, that was a huge
We
test.
did have
No,
to
that's
test.
great.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And then, what about the basement here in that last one?
Better.
Better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Still,
Yeah.
Yeah.
still some,
Well,
or
no.
Oh,
was,
really?
It stayed dry, didn't it?
Yeah.
After
Now,
it
as
was
far
dry?
as I know, I wasn't here
Yeah.
for the last.
Yeah, it was dry
past
because I did
weekend,
come
but-
down. Yeah.
Mine didn't stay dry.
Oh no. No.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
So here's a few images of things that were done this summer. The gym floor refinishing up at MAC. We like to do that annually just to keep it fresh and, a nice sticky surface for when they're playing basketball and volleyball. In the middle top, the mat room up at MacArthur. That was previously all red mats and not fully padded all the way around. So that's now fully padded all the way around the room.
that looks really nice. I
Yeah.
know, but
What?
Yeah, it
that
turned
kind
out
of
really
looked
well.
was
What's the
dark
brown?
before,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
no, that's
I'm
not.
curious what that brown in there is.
That's
On
the
the bottom?
backside.
That's-
A
that's
backside of
on
the
the
it's something that hasn't been
yeah.
put up yet.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, what a strange
Yeah.
rectangle sitting in the middle.
The Mac Library remodel, you just have an earlier photo with the new paint colors, paint scheme in there. Lower left is your band room seepage. They came in and, added a 6-inch line along that wall. Did some waterproofing along there and then ran it back out to the detention pond out there.
That's a big drain that they ran.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
40 feet or so up there.
Yeah.
It's very well sized for the amount of water that comes
Yeah.
off of that roof. There's quite a bit that comes off of there.
Good.
The maintenance of the bleachers, we repainted the decks, the floorboards, and then the sideboard there too. And then that is a earlier photo of the Ross office. I do have a more recent one, and it looks awesome. I haven't actually,
Yeah, it's way
I haven't
better.
seen it in person yet, but
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
great.
awesome.
Did the furniture
So-
come in?
Yeah, they
It just-
installed it at the tail end of last week.
It
Yeah,
is
just
beautiful.
came in.
I
Way
was there
better.
the
I
day they were
remember.
putting it in.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
Like Lily's
Cool.
like, Mom, you're a creep. I'm like, listen.
No, no, it
it
does
looks
look so
so
much better.
nice.
Yeah.
Like the table even
They're so
outside
happy.
in the hallway
Yep.
where
Yeah.
like the book drop off. I know, it's fine.
You went to school a little too much for your kids. Like,
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
I'll answer that on Lily's behalf.
Yes, on Lily's behalf, but
Yes.
not on our behalf.
Way too much.
Yes, she really enjoys it too when Amy is at EDP drop-off and I stick around and talk
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
She really enjoys those mornings.
Mhm.
No, but it looks really,
Yeah, it
really
does.
nice down there, so.
So this summer, I'm not totally sure how, cleaning was done in the past, but I like to build a team of custodians, and we had them all work together this summer instead of just at their own building. For me, it was a great opportunity for them to get to know each other, to work together, to experience the other buildings in a way that they really never experienced them before unless they had, changed shift or changed buildings, and I thought it went really well. We did strip the floor in the cafeteria also, which was a great team project for everybody to get together and work in that manner as a team and not just being separated all the time.
Mhm.
And we got done, I'd say about 2 weeks prior to the beginning of school.
Nice.
So that went really well.
Which our staff really appreciated.
Yeah.
Ongoing discussions, still meeting with principals on a monthly meetings, through LTM, meeting with the faculty and staff as far as the admin goes, and just making sure that we're providing also to the students and staff the support that they need to make sure that they have a operating classroom building and that they can still do their job as they see fit, by making sure that everything's repaired and in good working condition. And then we continue to focus on the cleaning and disinfection as we have in the past by doing that multi-step process at the end of the day for everyone, and keeping up on the ventilation, HVAC, and changing out of filters on a timely basis, and keeping all that moving.
Nice. Awesome.
Any
Any
questions
questions?
for Mike? Really?
Congratulations.
That's great.
Thank you.
Everything was great.
Really outstanding summer.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be bored next year then, right? Is
I
that what
hope
it-
so.
Yeah.
Did you have, do we have tentative ideas for next summer?
Yeah, actually, he gets about 2 weeks of not planning
Right.
time, and
That's
then
almost time for RFPs, right?
Yes.
in October,
Especially now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We gotta get
Yeah.
in front of them, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
next
right, or
next
things
month
like
we'll be bringing
tomorrow.
the review of the 10-year life facility plan.
Right.
We're at the 5-year mark,
Yeah.
so we'll be mapping out the second half as well as the proposals for next summer's work. So it's actually already begun. They've got
Yeah.
that pretty well designed, but bids will hit the street in
Hopefully
October.
October.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Hardly wait.
No rest.
Yeah.
No.
So you're going to
Oh,
Disney
those
World,
are
right?
fun though, those RFPs.
And then you
Yeah,
have, then
right.
you have to deal with all the lead times with everything.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You should have ordered it 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Did you heard any other follow-up from the village about the drainage project on Camp McDonald
Oh, yeah.
Road and
Yeah.
like how that's been faring and
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's complete. I mean, obviously our section is complete, but I know they were testing it a couple
I
of
think you're
weeks
still
ago.
working over there.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that's gone.
Are they
As
putting,
far as they're
permanent
finalizing it.
fencing up?
yeah, so they are, Joe Wade had, reached out, they anticipate finishing up the sod. I wanna say it was, right around September 24th or so, they're going to be sodding they were nice enough to put up all that safety fencing. In the meantime, their plan all along has been to sod, towards the end of September, so it's nice and cool. They are putting permanent fencing around that rip-wrapped area by I know you love that.
I love that word. Rip wrap.
By the creek, just to make sure that no kids or balls or pets or anything kind of go down there. They have placed the order on the fencing. They're just waiting for it to come in and then get that installed. They have not shared any information on exactly where the large scale project is at, but for our purposes, it was really a nice partnership. I mean, we were pleased with they were timely and, kind of finishing up when they said they were gonna finish up, and, yeah, I mean, they've been really nice partner, so no questions on that, but I don't know how the overall project is doing.
And then what, the Eisenhower playground equipment, where does
Yeah.
that stand?
Yeah, so again, this is something that we placed the order for in February, and we're anticipating having benches and tables within the next week and a half. He did just respond the other day that they thought that was all ready to go and ready to ship out. We're still gonna be waiting for, there is one large component of blue and red playground equipment that may be another couple weeks, and then we've got a bunch of accessible play components to be put throughout that structure, and we're still kind of waiting on. They thought at the latest it would be maybe 2 weeks into October, but
Okay.
oh, it's so slow.
They're gonna wait till it snows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Mhm.
My Eisenhower friend hasn't complained.
Oh.
He knows no difference.
Yeah, right.
You know, like,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
Right here.
He's
what
like,
you
we're
got?
good.
Mine too.
Right, like, there's no complaints from our little friends that are just happy to.
Yeah. They'll be even more surprised
They will,
once
when it all
the
shows
swing
up.
set's here.
Yeah, that's gonna be a huge bonus, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
when it comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, if you time this right, it's like a holiday
Yeah, it
present
could be like
for
a
them.
Oh, on
mid-fall, yeah.
Right.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, like all of it
All of
wrapped
it.
up into one
Well,
big
hopefully it'll be done well before
Halloween,
December.
a Halloween treat.
Maybe by Halloween, yes, that
Unless
could be
it's
it.
coming on rail.
Yes, right,
It might not
Might be.
be.
right.
All right.
Those are the superintendent report, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Mike. That was great. Okay, so next we have old business. I don't have any old business. Anybody else? No old business. Any new business? Okay, and then we need to go into executive session, and after which there will be no action. So,
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss negotiations with the PAGA and SEIU. Do I need to say the rest of that? There will be no action.
Carol already did.
need a second?
Second.
Moved by Becky, seconded by Kevin.
Night, everybody.
Roll call.
Good
night.
Good
Thanks,
night,
Mike.
Mike. Thank you.
Mr. Nordmark,
Yes.
Mr. Bednar,
Yes.
Mr. Gradanis,
Yes.
Mrs. McClaney,
Yes.
Mr. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Botwinski.
Yes, motion passed 6-0. So take a little break.
Yep.
And
Am I, this
Run.
is not the same.
Yeah, we're good.
Do we have a motion to move?
Congratulations,
into-